Well, I know you went to the US back to '07, and within 10 years, you have got two companies, one in Silicon Valley and the other one in Shanghai. So, can you tell us something about your experience within the last 10 years, and also something about your company?
Sure. I actually correct a little bit. My current company, we're headquartered in Silicon Valley, and we have a sub office in Shanghai because we are a true cross-border company, that I say. My first company, which I started back in, let's say 2010, while I was still a junior at USC, studying at USC. So that was my first company. One thing that I can tell, because by the time I went to US, that was '07, I was only 17. I don't look that old, I'm only 27 right now. I would say it's pretty rare. I was considered one of the smaller younger international students back then. Then right about 2008, 2009, 2010, all the Chinese international students start flooding in to China, to the US, to the rest of the world. So to me, I grew up, my undergrad, I still remember computer science for undergrad. My entire year only have about 3 to 5 Chinese students back then. Nonetheless, for the graduate students, a lot of Chinese and Indians, it's totally different. But now when you look into the undergrad program, there's a lot of Chinese. I would say I grew up more like I have a lot of Native American friends back then because I had no choice. I had to make a lot of friends back then, which gives me the possibility to kind of actually learn about American culture deeply, rather than just being an international student, be there for a couple of years and come back. And that's part of the reason I decided to stay and doing a cross-border company in Silicon Valley that have deeply linked to China.
As you mentioned, your first company, you had a first company back to about 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. So, and your current company is like, we can say it's Nihao Pay. Mm-hmm. What was your first company, and how you came from your first company to the current company?
Sure. I grew up. My parents are small. I would say smaller type of entrepreneurs. So I grew up in an entrepreneur type of environment. So I know from day one I wouldn't be working for any larger company. So I started exploring that back in 2010 based on a friend's request. I'm a computer science major, so my friends literally came to me and said, "Hey, a lot of people are doing websites. Do you feel like you're trying to do a website for me?" I said, "How much are they paying?" They're saying, "Oh, maybe about 10,000. Think about that." While I was a junior, right? I said, "Yes, I'll take it. I've never done it before, but I'll try it," right? So I exported that, kind of gathered two of my smart friends in the class. I said, "Look, I have $10,000 if you wanted to get part of it. If you want to do so, you got to work with me." That's how I got started, right? So I know I'm not fear of getting started on myself and to explore things that I've never done before. That's part of entrepreneur's spirit that I think that I have. And then actually I made it off of a cross-border e-commerce company. I helped a couple of Chinese brands localize in the US. Back then it was a trend that a Chinese company actually went to America to set up Amazon, eBay presence and building their own websites. So I catch that trend, built 2 or 3 of the presence for them in US and help them get to like a couple $1 million mark on the revenue. Then I realized, oh, they made all the money. I didn't make all the money. So I got to learn something else, right? So I started to kind of get into the startup world because LA back then was just starting as the Silicon Beach kind of environment rather than Silicon Valley. They're getting up back in 2009, 2010. So there was an incubator in LA that's pretty well known called Idea Lab. One of the co-founders' son actually went to USC, they're actually 1 year younger than I am. So we went and we did a smaller startup project called Find My Song. It was just a kind of a student type of project that didn't go anywhere. But one thing that I learned, he actually did an NFC project on the side, and he got acquired by a Nokia Virtu founder. I said, wow, okay, there's got to be something that's happening. And then one thing is, I should continue to startups, but I'm not gonna do a totally American startup because I'm not as rooted as he is. Because I think part of the reason he got acquired because his dad is founder of Idea Lab, right? But I don't want to go back to China back then too because I think that I went to U.S. for almost 7 years back then. I like to utilize my skill that I learned in the U.S. to kind of beat the link between U.S. and America. That's how I then met my co-founder, and he wanted to do this Nihao Pay thing. Just a quick introduction about our company. We're actually taking UnionPay, Alipay, and WeChat payment to the global, and actually do more like a Stripe or Team++ type of integration to Fortune 500 companies. So one slogan that we were trying to achieve is having Chinese to spend all they want, everywhere they want, globally. That's our kind of the angle for our company here. He went to US and he found out that even though he had this relationship with the Alipay, WeChat, and UnionPay, but he couldn't internalize that into and localize that into the US. So he found me. He saw that I have this energetic young type of startup energy and trying to do things out myself, and I know enough in America to make this one happen. So he kind of recruited me as a co-founder, spent some time, learned about the industry, and then kind of jumped in from there.
Very interesting experience. On your business itself, you mentioned it's more sort of like a facilitates the payments between the Chinese providers as well as the Western and overseas merchants. Mm-hmm. So the question is, why those Chinese providers like Alipay, WeChat, they have a very broad network, mm-hmm. and they also have a very good customer base and abundant cash seat on the balance sheet. Why they can't do it by themselves? There's an opportunity for you guys to jump in and take the opportunity.
Sure. I will answer from two different angles. The first one is a very easy answer. That's all payment companies that I actually see in between. For example, like Braintree, Stripe, Square. Because there's a lot of players doing the payment industry. There are risk management. There are acquirers who distribute the funds. There are like processors or gateways who actually transfer the data. There are BDs, that's a merchant level sales, that actually go into every single restaurant trying to sell that processing type. So there's a lot of players. There's no way that any network can actually do that all. So for example, if a merchant happens to be a fraudulent merchant, they say that they're selling t-shirts, but they're actually selling drugs. How can you identify that? There are companies that dedicated just for doing that for risk management. So the easy answer is, there's so many responsibilities to be taken care of. The network usually emphasizes on getting active users. Alipay has 400 million users that they want to retain and grow more, grow globally. Same thing for WeChat and UnionPay. But on the other hand, why we are the one, right? That's tied back to my thesis about doing a startup in Silicon Valley. Why I want to do this cross-border, true cross-border company that I always say is, for example, UnionPay went to America back in 2005, and they haven't done it so much until today, right? You don't see UnionPay anywhere. Even my name card, I have to make a credit card looks like a credit card that has a UnionPay logo on there, just to show everyone, hey, UnionPay means a card that has 100% penetration in China. You should take it. Otherwise, you're missing out getting money from Chinese, right? So the reason that they did so, two reasons. One is they wasn't localized as we are. And the second is the product wasn't done in an American way. Still, looking back when I first talked to UnionPay America, the VP of UnionPay was telling me, if I were you, I would do a technology company that's emphasized on delivering the technical solution for the payments. I said, what do you mean by that? I don't see any disruptive or type of technology company that actually built on top of UnionPay. There's no such a thing that's kind of innovative on UnionPay that I know. And then later I figured out the funny thing is, for example, we all know UnionPay, you pay online, it's going to jump through to a separate page, enter your phone number, and then to verify that payments, right? And then you also need to download a plugin to make sure it's a secure plugin before you can make the transaction. To US merchants, that sounds like a scam, right? Basically, you're making my customers installing a malware on their website. They don't get it. They don't get it. That's extra security that we're trying to throw in because we're trying to keep it at the low fraud rates within China already. But that's the dilemma, right? Off of the operational manual that UnionPay has, I would say half of the English manual they're providing has broken English in there. Some functions they mentioned it's working, but it's not actually working. All the new functions that deliver in China is now available outside China. So that's the technical solution gap that we're trying to bridge over, right? We're trying to deliver a US key RESTful API-based world-class scale, easy to integrate type of API solution to our merchants in America. So vice versa, right? UnionPay have worked with public companies in America that trying to help deliver UnionPay solution in there. But again, those companies can't even know some of the solutions that UnionPay is trying to provide. For example, another example, not just to pick on UnionPay, let's use Alipay this time, right? So Guilt, as a well-known e-commerce company, they linked with Alipay directly, and then later on they took them off on the mobile. And the reason is they're saying that Alipay is not so responsive on mobile. In fact, we all know Chinese are paying mobile by jumping to an app authorized in Alipay and come back. But versus in America, when you pay it on the mobile, you just key in part information and that's it, right? So, but Guilt didn't know. So Guilt did a little HTML5 page within their app, trying to have people key in their account information in there, which we probably going to know it's not going to work so well. So we are bridging that gap too. We're literally providing the real Chinese payment solution to American merchants, so that we're linking in between and make that happen. So that's why I say that we are a true cross-border. We have to be very localized in the U.S. to be able to do BDs, and we are very localized in China to make sure that we have top-of-the-line products. Because Chinese payment products is evolving every single day, every single week. We can catch it up because we have teams in Shanghai to do so.